Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to show you how to make my version of Utica greens. There are many ways to make this dish, but they're all wrong, they all suck, and I'm going to explain why. Now, if you don't know what Utica greens is, it's a dish that comes from Utica, New York. Some Italian invented the dish, and they did us all a favor because it's a good recipe. However, whoever invented it, they missed out a lot of opportunity on this dish. You have to include cannoli beans or Great Northern beans. And you absolutely must have garlic, about 3 to 4 cloves, sliced very thinly, like how they teach it in Goodfellas. Garlic is an essential. You're also going to need chicken stock, breadcrumbs. It could be plain or Italian style. Don't use panko. Don't get going too crazy. You'll need a little salt, a little black pepper. Obviously, you're going to need olive oil. You need cherry peppers. They are the star of the show. You can either use fresh cherry peppers or the kind that come in a jar. It doesn't really matter. I prefer fresh, but down here in Hickville, I can't find fresh, so I gotta use the shit out of a jar. And then you need pancetta, prosciutto, ham, some type of cold cut like that. Now, what I like to do sometimes is I like to get a hot supersada or chorizo, a hot salami or pepperoni type cold cut. I like to use just a little bit added in with the ham. I'm not saying completely use the hot supersada or the salami. You gotta use some type of base like ham, prosciutto, whatever. It doesn't need to be exact. And you're gonna need some escarole. Now, escarole could be pronounced many different ways. I'm not Italian, thank God, so I pronounce things like God intended it to be pronounced, and that's escarole. I pronounce the vowels at the end. So you're gonna need some escarole. You're gonna need to chop it. I'm not gonna explain how to chop escarole. Just don't be a retard. You know, get it nice like a salad and wash the hell out of it because escarole is a very dirty vegetable. I don't wash my potatoes. I don't wash usually any of my vegetables. However, escarole is super fucking dirty, so you're gonna need to wash that shit. The first thing you gotta do is get the broiler going, but you're gonna need a pan like this. I don't know what you call it, but you need a pan to do some frying in. Something that can go into the oven underneath the broiler. You don't want to melt plastic if there's plastic, handles and shit. And then you're going to need to get some water going. So here's step one. After you do all this prep work, step one is once this water comes to a boil, you're going to throw in a punch of salt or a little handful of salt, and you're going to boil this escarole for no more than 2 minutes. It has to be precise. 2 minutes, you take it off, you strain it in a strainer, you run cold water on it to stop it from cooking. And then we'll proceed to step 2. All right, time for step 2. First thing you want to do is get rid of your gun. You don't want your gun getting splashed with grease. And after you boil the escarole, this is boiled for 2 minutes. It's very vibrant green. You don't want to overcook it. Make sure when you're done boiling it and you strain it, you run cold water on it to stop it from cooking. Then you're going to get your pan on medium heat. You're going to start frying up your ham, your pancetta, your prosciutto, whatever you want. You start frying it until it's nice and crispy and brown. Next step, we're going to add the garlic. Make sure you get all this prep work done ahead of time. It makes your life a lot easier. Okay, so once your ham, your prosciutto, your pancetta, whatever you're using starts to look like this, where it's starting to get nice and bacony looking, like dried up crispy bacon, you're going to add the garlic. Now, this is the part you got to be very quick and careful with. You don't want to cook the garlic till it's nice and brown. You want to just cook it until you start to smell the delicious smells of garlic. So this doesn't take long at all. Get that all in there. I like my garlic. You might want to turn the heat down just a smidge. And you're going to stir this around until you start to smell delicious scents of garlic. I usually always screw this up when my garlic gets a little bit too brown, which is all right. It's not going to ruin the dish, but that's not the right way of doing it. Okay, so right about now, here comes the most important part of the recipe. Well, you might as well, it doesn't matter when you do this, but I like to do it before I deglaze the pan. So you throw in your cherry peppers. They'll deglaze the pan a little bit for you. Smells wonderful. Oh yeah, by the way, I've added my black pepper to the meat while it was cooking. So go ahead and crack on some pepper when you're getting your ham nice and crispy. Okay, you stir that around. Now I will deglaze. And deglazing, for those of you that don't know, it's getting all the little burnt bits of the meat off the bottom of the pan, get them to absorb into all the vegetables and the garlic. Just a little splash of chicken stock. And you take your wooden spoon, and you scrub the bottom of the pan. See all those brown bits right there? They're all coming up off the pan. Now it'll cook with the chicken stock and the peppers and the prosciutto or the pancetta and the garlic. It's going to smell really good around now. So you stir that around, let it cook down until the liquid starts to evaporate. And then it's time for the next step. Alright, so the next step, we're almost done now. The next step is you throw in your beans. Now hopefully you've strained these beans. You don't want to go dumping a full can of beans in there with all the liquid. You get rid of that liquid beforehand. And then after you're done frying up everything I just showed you, you throw in the beans. You let them cook for about 2 to 3 minutes on a low heat. Just let them simmer and absorb all the liquid and the flavor that's in the pan. And you spread it around nice and evenly. Because now here comes the escrow. All right, now hopefully you have the broiler ready to go, because this is basically the ending part of the dish. You take your escrow and you place it in here, kind of spread it around, and then on very low heat, I'd say for about another 2 minutes, 1.5 to 2 minutes, you put the escrow into the dish and you just stir it around and let it absorb the delicious flavor that's already in the pan. All right, so then you stir this shit around, make sure everything's evenly distributed. I'll fast forward here. All right, so after you very lightly stir around the escrow in the pan for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, it's time for your final step. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take your breadcrumbs now. You're just gonna sprinkle it a little bit with breadcrumbs. Give it a quick little sprinkling. You're gonna take your tongs. You don't wanna get too crazy with the stirring at this point. You just wanna lightly stir it around so like a little bit of the breadcrumbs gets down in there. But you don't wanna go crazy, you don't wanna go overboard. And then even it back out. And then you're gonna add a little bit more breadcrumbs to top it off. And then you top it with cheese. Now it's up to you how much cheese you want to use. I like my cheese, so I'm going to put a decent amount on top. You don't want to stir the cheese around. You just want to like you would a pizza. You want to put the cheese on the top layer. So when you stick this under the broiler, the cheese will start getting nice and melted and bubbly. And it'll also let you know when it's done. You don't want to fry this to hell in the broiler. You just want to get the breadcrumbs and the cheese to brown slightly. Maybe one more. Who am I kidding? All right, so now I'm gonna pop this in the broiler until, like I said, the cheese starts to melt and bubble and brown slightly, and then it's all done. All right, now we're all done. After I take it out of the broiler, notice that it's not like overly browned. You can see a few little brown bits like there and all around, but oh my God, if you can smell how good this smells, you're in for a treat. This is literally the best way to eat vegetables. It's the best vegetable dish in the world, hands down, and it's done the right way. So there you have it, folks. Utica greens, the right way. Enjoy. Just after all you need now is just get a bowl, scoop it up, throw it in the bowl, and enjoy.